Hey, real quick, one thing I just wanted to say is that when I make these videos, I am truly leaning into the spirit. I truly am trying to bring forth an actual lesson, a reminder, if you will, of what I'm learning, what God is telling me, what God wants to share with his people. That is my number one motivation always. However, today I have a second. Today I am motivated by this braid out. I'm motivated by this braid out for sure. This is day 2 of the braid out, and let me tell you, she is giving everything she should be. She is a reminder of the God I serve. Oh yeah, the eyebrows and the edges still here. It is a reminder that God is still in the miracle business. Hallelujah. Has not, will not, cannot fail, and neither can this braid out. I should probably introduce myself too. So let's do that. Let's get into the video. Hey y'all, my name is Shannon Ray. I am a pivot coach and a faith-based content creator. For those of you who are curious about what a pivot coach is, I partner with folks just like you who are making major life decisions, facing transitions, and trying to shift their minds to a brand new mindset. I work with you to create a solution that will help you get to the pivot. If you have questions or would like to learn more, hit the link below. I am offering free sessions. Let's talk about the ways that I can support you. For those of you who are new to the channel, yes, I do bring in coaching principles from my practice as well as personal stories of life, love, and the pursuit of purpose and the lessons that I'm learning along the way. If this speaks to you, if this is something that you want to see more of, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button. I have some folks who have asked me recently if I am willing to do advice. I am. So if you want to send me an email, you can absolutely do that, and I will answer on the next video. Let's get right into it. If you were anything like me, then you probably grew up around some churchy folks, and they always have been preaching to me about taking your thoughts captive, how important it is to win that battle in your mind. I had to take a step back because I realized that your girl was being a hater. Me, of all people. Can you believe it? As many of you know, I moved to a brand new city. I have been in a new job role. Anyone who has ever survived a layoff knows that although you still have your job and you have that gratitude for it, there is absolutely still a consequence of being chosen. Not necessarily a negative thing, but in many cases, it means your workload changes or shifts, your team changes, the dynamics change, there are new expectations, so it's much like starting over at a brand new job. All of that has kind of thrown me off kilter, so to speak. It's kind of put me in a place where those provisions that I put into my life, my daily practices, have kind of fallen by the wayside. And the impact I'm seeing has affected my mindset. I know better. I know that the best way to start my day is with God. I like to wake up early and ease into the experience of my day. And when I don't do that, when I don't put God and then myself before I take in the thoughts and opinions or experiences of others, I find myself taking on the energy of whatever it is I'm seeing, and sometimes that energy gets left over from the day before or the week before or the story before. I was looking at TikTok and I was just scrolling, and I was seeing a lot of good news actually in this case, so I continued to scroll. But I realized that the way I was thinking about things wasn't like my normal self. Usually when I see good news, I respond in the same. You're happy, I'm happy. You're getting proposed to, I'm low-key crying too. You have a cute little baby picture, I'm like, oh my God, look at my little niece. That is where I like to live. That's how my brain works. But when you're thrown off, when things for you are not quite where you want to be, you have to be careful with even the good news. As I continued to scroll, I saw someone receive something that for me would be a career high. And instead of being excited for them, instead of being motivated by it, I heard myself say out loud, I mean, well, that's great, but when's it gonna be my turn? God. Oh. If I don't understand anything about life, I can tell you one of the major principles that I have learned is that what you speak comes to pass. It's a biblical principle. We all know it. Life and death, that power is in your tongue. What you think, you become. What's in your heart spills out into your life. I knew in that moment that I'd gotten to the point where I needed to get a hold of my thoughts. I needed to get a hold of myself. I need to be checked. There's such a powerful verse that I go back to, and I memorized it, short and sweet. It's 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 5. We take captive every thought and make it obedient to God. That is our spiritual filter. That verse to me reminds me of how important it is to run things through the eyes of God before I decide to come into agreement with a thought that I've had. That making it obedient to God means not only submitting your will, means not only trusting his will, it's trusting what he has said on the subject. When Paul was speaking about this, for context in the Bible, he was speaking to the church as a spiritual being. We were still living a physical life. And so we were going to constantly be at war with what was happening on earth and in our spirit. The world that we see around us is often going to be in direct conflict with what God says. That battle is going to very often take place in your mind, in your heart, because they all inform one another. This is actually a big deal, because what happens when you start to look at things and have thoughts like I did, God, that's great, but when is this going to happen for me? What's reinforcing to me is that in some way, God has either forgotten about me, that things might not happen for me, or as if I am late. I'm comparing, which is stealing the joy of what I have in this season. Make no mistake, transitions, changes, and all of that stuff, it doesn't mean that it's been all bad. It's been good. It's been great. These are quite literally answered prayers too. Even the blessings still require sacrifice. They still require effort. They require stretching. When you pray for bigger, God has to make room for bigger. When you're having thoughts like this that are going directly against what God has said on the subject, you begin to believe the lie instead of believing what God said. You begin to believe the lie instead of the word that you receive. You begin to believe the lie instead of the truth of what is happening in your life, in your heart, in your world. I had to challenge that thought. When's it going to happen for me? As if there hasn't been progression, as if there hasn't been movement. Why am I feeling this way? Once I started to kind of unpack where this was coming from, the stress that I've been under, the uncertainty that comes with being in a brand new spot, the uncertainty that comes with not knowing what your next step is. I moved on one word, not knowing what was next to come. And is as spiritual as we want to be, as anchored as we want to be, sometimes that can make you feel uncertain. Sometimes that can shake you up just a little bit. And so I don't beat myself up for having that human moment, but I recognize that that was a chance for me to get back on track. And it's possible. It's possible to do when we're honest, not only with ourselves, but with God. God, I'm struggling in this department. I feel a little left behind. I feel like my age is becoming a hindrance. I'm worried that it won't happen. What we have to do is be honest. We have to be honest about what we feel and then challenge those thoughts. If God said that this was going to happen, if God has given you a promise, a desire in your heart, there is no reason to believe that it won't come to pass. When has he lied? Oh, you never, okay? You have to remember who you serve. You have to remember who you belong to. God knows that we have these emotions. God knows that we have these feelings, so bring them right back to him. When people talk about being jealous, there are many levels to that, and I think that jealousy is often characterized as making people seem like they are monsters. But to me, when I hear someone telling me that they're jealous of something or they're exhibiting some level of jealousy, what I know is that you still have a desire. Jealousy is proof of your desire. So what we have to do is make the pivot. If you are dealing with feelings of rejection, thank God that he cares so much about you that he is not willing to let you have your bare minimum. Bare minimum can't come anywhere near you. God is that protective of you. We have to learn how to take captive these thoughts. We have to learn how to be honest about the emotion that drives them. We have to be honest with God about how we're really feeling to allow him the opportunity to step into that gap. When we think about the practicality of it all, like how we can really address it, the way that we address it is to be real, is to be honest. You had a moment where you were feeling jealous, not that you don't want them to have it, but Lord, when is it going to be mine? Be real about that. You had a moment where you were feeling like you were left behind or forgotten. Remember that God has not forgotten about you. He is specific about you. He is intentional with you. You want God's best. You want God's best because at least that you are willing to receive is nowhere near what He has planned for you. And I found myself taking the time to say out loud something that was anything other than celebratory for that person, I took the time to then turn around, ask God for forgiveness, and pray. And to some, that might seem like I was doing the most. I don't care. Because what's more important to me is that when God looks at my heart, He sees His own reflection. I have the benefit of the wisdom of knowing what it's like to choose something outside of the will of God and watching it crumble before me. And instead of God giving me the consequences that I actually deserved, He lifted me up and put me in a better position, right back on track like I should have been. There are moments where I still feel guilty for choosing wrong the first time. There are moments where I still equate the choices that I made to delaying the things that I really dream of. And instead of living in that place, I want to celebrate seeing reflections of what I desire out in the world, because it is evidence. It's evidence that it can happen for them, and there's no reason to believe that it can't happen for me. Every morning from that day forward, I allowed myself to wake up way earlier than was necessary for me to do, so that I could at least pull out my journal and thank God for the day ahead. There are so many things that you can do to capture your thoughts. Be honest about what's going on, the emotions that are behind it. Take it to God. He made us, He knows us. That's an opportunity to build that relationship up with God, and then begin to reframe your thinking. You see something that you want happen for someone else, we celebrate that. We pray over them. You pray for those people, not because you're trying to get something back, because you are aware that goodness and mercy is still available for all of us, that blessings are available for all of us. There is your evidence, because your thoughts become words, your words become action, and those actions create your life. What life are you trying to live? Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you are interested in submitting an advice question or a story that you want to tell or share, please be sure to do so. If you want to book a free session with me and learn more about what it means to be a pivot coach, remember to hit that link below. I hope you have the best day ever, and I'll see you on the next video.